There's no better advertising than word of mouth. And somebody willing to say about you, hey, I know a great agent that you should use, and here he is. I mean, there's no bigger compliment. I don't care how many reviews you have.
Hello and welcome to episode 240 of the Smart Agents Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. On today's episode, we are joined by Gerry Tomchinsky, Director of Sales for Team Suncoast Success based in Sarasota, Florida. Just a year into his real estate career, Gerry has built a thriving business for himself as a listing agent. Throughout our conversation, Gerry shares the strategies he used to break into a competitive market and how genuine relationships have become the cornerstone of his success. We also dive into his tips for gaining the trust of expired listings and how he leverages social media to build his referral network with fellow agents. But before we get on with the day's featured interview, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story of real estate success or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new guests to inspire our listeners. And lastly, if you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. We stream on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. All right, let's get on with our conversation with Gerry Tomchinsky. I really enjoyed our time, and if you're interested in connecting with Gerry, be sure to check out the episode description for links to his social channels. All right, well, really the way I like to get everything started is if you could introduce yourself to us a little bit. Tell us who you are and where you are located.
So, good morning, Michael. And again, thank you for having me. My name's Gerry Tomchinsky. I am a realtor in the Sarasota, Bradenton area. I work for Keller Williams Suncoast in the Lakewood Ranch Market, Bradenton, the whole, we cover the Gulf Coast. And I've been here since I started my real estate career, which, as you know, and we'll get into, is not even a year old. But I began as a realtor, and now I am the director of sales for the Suncoast Success team, which is a new team that was started by, I don't know if you're familiar with Barry Paley out of New York and Team Paley. They're a $100 million a year team. He sits on Gary Keller's top 200. So him and I partnered up, and I'm the director of sales for that team now.
Awesome. So, I mean, obviously, getting into real estate just less than a year ago, what were you doing prior to getting it, making this jump?
Well, this is a second career for me. So I'm in my 40s. I'm not going to say exactly how old, but I was in the family business in New York. My family, my brother and my father still run it. It's a glass company. We did windows in high-rise buildings in New York City, and that's been my trade forever. I did go to college for a bit at St. John's University in New York, go Red Storm. Little disappointing ousting in the tournament, but it is what it is. And I met my beautiful wife about 9 years ago, and she's from this area and from Sarasota. I never thought I would end up in Sarasota. I always, like every other New Yorker, I thought I'd end up in Florida, but not in Sarasota. So I ended up moving down here the 1st of December, 2016. And only a couple of years ago, my mother and my wife both suggested, why don't you try real estate? Because I tried getting into the glass thing down here. And it's like, if you're not established already, it's very difficult to create a business because it's a very tight-knit area. It's not a huge population in Sarasota. And me coming from Brooklyn, New York to Sarasota, I think I had more people living on my block that live in the whole city of Sarasota. Right. So, it started to kind of resonate with me because I saw a lot of people having success with, especially right around COVID time. So, and I knew at that time wasn't the right time for me. And about 2 years ago, I decided, you know what, let me start studying for the test. I can always take the test and, decide afterward whether I'm going to pursue this or not. I passed the test last April. And I think it was May 1st or May 2nd that I began working for Keller Williams. So I got hired here by a lady by the name of Megan West, who doesn't work with us anymore, but she is still a very good friend. And she was my mentor. I'm very proud to say, for my first couple of months here. Any question I had, she answered it. But at the same time, I was a sponge. I don't know if you're familiar with the Keller culture.
Yeah.
There's a lot of training, a lot of classes, a lot of things that they offer. And what I decided to do was take advantage of all of it. What I did was I jumped in with both feet. I didn't have another job. This was either going to be a sink or swim thing. And for the first 6 weeks, I went to all the classes. And Megan, to her credit, threw me into the Bold program. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So I jumped into Bold. My first day there, I was like, what am I doing here? It was so much information that was thrown at me. And then by week 3, I started to settle in a little bit, in the Bold. And I started to understand where it was going. By week 6, I had taken the Bold laws into my daily routine. I took what the instructor said, and the KW Maps coaches are some of the best. They're charismatic. They're very knowledgeable. So it was just everything fit like a glove for me,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I took everything that they said, and I remember the one thing that really resonated in my mind. This one instructor, Dustin, he was speaking about lead generation and getting listings in particular. And what he said he did was of course, he cold called and did all that stuff. And, I'm an old school guy. I think the old school methods will always work because they've worked. They've made it through the test of time, right? So what he did, he said to me, he goes, find a room in your house, take your script and practice it by yourself over and over and over until you make it your own, which I did. It became part of my lexicon. It became a part of who I am. So I don't I don't think I cold call anymore. I don't think I
Right.
pitch people anymore. I call and I have care. Like Barry Paley, my now who's my current mentor, he
Right.
calls them care calls, not sales
Yeah.
calls, because in truth, we're not selling anything. We're
Right.
offering a service. We're
Right.
basically selling ourselves, what we can do, how we're different than the next guy or the last guy, depending on the what you're dealing with, and everything just fit.
Yeah.
It really, really just fit. About 6 weeks in is when I got my first my lead generation source. I started getting cold leads, and I just started banging the phones every day, 9 to 12, 9 to 12, 9 to 12. And I signed my first listing on July 16th. Some of these dates just stick.
Right.
July 16th of last year. And I'll tell you what, if this same listing came to me today, I would not take it. It
Yeah.
was a multi-unit,
Mm-hmm.
non-permitted and non-zoned. It was
Oh,
all in the process of getting done, but it
right.
wasn't finished. And 3 other agents couldn't sell it. It was on the market for over, I think, a year and a half before it
Mm-hmm.
came to me. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll list it with you. So here's what happened. Nobody's been able to sell it. And, I'm like a blind fish. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. Ended up selling it in 43 days.
Wow.
Got an
That's
offer on
awesome.
it, found the perfect buyer, somebody that didn't want to use it as an investment, but had a huge family. And every person in the family was getting a unit that's on the property. So it fit perfectly. Um, and that first listing gave me a second listing. And then about 3 weeks after, I got another listing. And they told me kind of the same story. They said, we had an agent, he listed it, but he did nothing. He just posted it and he prayed. Can't really do that in this market in Florida. Florida's a little bit unique right now because unlike the Northeast, which is under inventoried, we have way too much inventory down here. So you got to think outside the box as far as marketing and how you're going to present your property and how you're going to really set it apart. So I ended up getting their place under contract in 40 days with a lady who came in, and this is what tells me that open houses do work. It was a second open house. I remember it was pouring that day. I was going to call it off because it was pouring, like nobody's going to show up, but I was already there. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. 5 minutes before it ended, this lady walked in, a lady by the name of Merity, who is still my client to this day. Um, she decided she loved the place. She needed to move closer to her kids for some medical purposes and convenience to be just close to her son. She lives in Venice. The property was in Riverview, which I don't know if you're familiar, is about an hour ride or so. She said, I'm good with buying this and going under contract, but I need my condo in Venice sold. I won't be able to actually go through with the purchase. So I said, all right, there's a contingency. I said, here's the deal. I said, if you give me your listing in Venice, I'll handle both sides. So she gave me her listing in Venice. She didn't think it was going to sell because it's a new construction. There's other units, but I was able to leverage it because they overpriced similar units. And I was able to leverage that because I knew what she wanted and it was less than what they were pricing. So I was able to leverage that. I had that sold in 24 days. And then it just kept going. And then Barry and I ended up meeting and teaming up and selling my parents' place. That was on the market for 3 years with, again, 3 different agents on the Upper West Side of New York. Couldn't get it sold. Mm-hmm. Barry's team came in. We teamed up. 57 days sold. So it's just been. I've put the work in. I mean, don't get me wrong. None of this came easy. Ask my wife; she'll tell you. I'm always on the phone. I always answer the phone. My motto is do what other agents won't or other people won't. And I know that's a big problem here in Florida, that there are a lot of agents that aren't available to their clients. Either they don't have the assertiveness or they have too many clients to give each client the attention they deserve. Because you think about it, they're entrusting you with one of the biggest deals they'll do in their life. So I don't look at them as a number or a sale. I look at them, all of my clients have become friends. I have a rule. Clients can become friends, but I don't want any of my friends being my clients because that tends to muddy the waters.
Right.
But it's different to when you take your client and they become your friend because you start caring about their process, and that's then Barry came down here and he said, you know what, I want to start a team, but I don't want to start it unless you're involved. I said, I'd love to be. People pay a ton of money to have Barry Paley coach them, and this guy offered to have me on his team, and to this day he's my mentor. And I get to soak up all that information every single day. And I don't take that for granted. He's like, I need you to be the number one guy. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, I need you to be the director of sales. He said, because you have something that a lot of people don't. He's like, I've never seen an agent come in and the first year's not even over and they've already done $4 or $5 million in sales. I said, you know what? This is an honor. And I took it and I'm running with it now. And the team is a couple of months old. And of course, we're hitting some hurdles, but that's normal with any team. But as of right now, I mean, we have 15, 16 agents and every one of them but 2 are in some kind of transaction. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going great.
Yeah. So tell me about, kind of going back and when you first got in, really going all in on becoming a listing agent rather than going out and trying to gain as many, buyer leads as you could. What was the kind of the mindset of we're going all in on the listing side?
So the mindset for me was kind of simple. I knew the NAR settlement was coming, and I knew that it was going to throw chaos and pandemonium into the industry. I said, my life is already chaotic enough doing a midlife career change, having a brand new baby. My baby's 3 years old and 3.5 now. I need to basically put some money in the bank. And money in the bank to me was listings because I knew I could sell listings and it was going to be like a long-term thing. Buyers come and go. But when you have listings and it's dry on the buyer side, you know that sale is eventually going to come if you market it the right way, if you direct it at the right people. And I said, I want to avoid that chaos. Let me do something unorthodox and go for listings. People in my office couldn't believe it. Megan was like, you sure you want to go this route? And I said, I think I do. And once I signed that first listing, I knew this was for me. The listing side I loved it. I love giving people the opportunity to work with an agent that really cares. Obviously, there's a lot of agents that care. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, I would never badmouth another colleague. I just think that not enough agents actually care about their clients to the level I think we should, because I put myself in their shoes. My wife and I bought our home 5 years ago. To us, it was huge. There was nothing else going on in the world like we're buying a home, And you got to think about that's how people are thinking when they're entrusting you to find their dream home or their perfect investment or their perfect family home or whatever it is. Everybody's situation is different. So I want to bring that caring back to the business. And, again, the NAR settlement did create chaos, as you know. My thought was correct. It's starting to settle down because people are starting to get the drift, and I think it's put more organization into the real estate world. I'm not, I don't, it doesn't affect me one way or the other because I didn't work with the old way. So
Right.
all I know is this way, and I'm okay with that. There are other agents that have been doing this for 20, 25 years that are not thrilled. And
Right.
I get that, you take a method that's worked seemingly for so long, and then you come across a person that it rubs the wrong way and they want to change the entire system because they don't like it. I mean, that's kind of like today's world, right? People, if they don't like something, they want to make sure that you don't have access to it. They can't just have their opinion and move on. Well, if I don't like it, nobody else should be able to do it, which is kind of crazy to me, but it's the current world that we live in, and you have to adapt. Adaptation in real estate is key, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were reaching out to these leads, when you started, your lead generation got turned on and you were doing these cold calls, how were you positioning yourself as, that real estate expert and that, that person to list their home without the years of experience, behind your
That's a
belt?
great question. That's a great question, Michael. What I leveraged was my years in the New York City construction industry.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if you're too familiar with that industry, but it thickens up your skin
Yeah.
with the quickness. If you don't have the ability to deal with, there's no filters in New York City construction, meaning there's no time for niceties. Like we have a deadline and that deadline needs to be stuck on. So nobody's going to fluff up your feelings in order to make you feel better. No, we need to get the job done. And I leveraged all those years and I got lucky. People didn't ask me how many years experience in real estate I had. What I did say is that, I volunteered the information about, well, before I was in real estate, I had 20 years in the New York City construction industry, which really got me ready for this industry. And I did let everybody know that real estate was a second career for me. And nobody, once they heard what I was bringing to the table, I really wasn't asked about, thank God, because again, the number one thing for me in real estate is be transparent. And I would have told them the truth had they asked me. But luckily, nobody asked. And I just leveraged that all those years in construction that really, really toughened me up and got me ready for this.
Yeah. Do you think working on those scripts and really kind of honing that, like you said, you made it part of your lexicon, you made it you took the script and you transformed it and made it, your, your kind of being, do you think that really helped kind of make it to where those questions didn't come up?
I think to this day, it still helps. I absolutely, when people hear somebody that's genuine and not reading off of a script, that's just having a conversation. I'm not calling to pitch you. I'm calling to have a conversation. I really want to know why your listing expired. I really want to know why you canceled that listing. Why did you choose to move on from that agent? I don't call and bombard them with like a pitch. I call them to have a conversation. And that's where I think my approach to cold calling set me apart from other people. When listings expire, they get 100 calls in a matter of
Right.
the first hour. So I had to figure out something that's going to set me apart. And what set me apart was that I called to have a conversation. Like, I'm not here to sell you on me. I'm here to find out what went wrong with your listing. And here's what I can offer. And if you like what I can offer, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, I don't push anybody to sign up for me for 6 months. Give me 3 months. Let me show you what I can do. If even at the end of the first month, you don't think that I'm putting in the work for you, fire me. No penalties, no charges. That's another thing we offer is no penalty guarantee. So if you don't like what we're doing or the effort that we're putting in, get rid of me. I'm okay with that. Because if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, I deserve to be fired.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that really does help, not just for you, but anybody, that it's just all that accountability type stuff. You've laid it out there. You're telling these people you can hold me accountable to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we're doing everything possible to get this home sold.
Yeah, I think that's huge in our industry, especially as saturated as Florida is with realtors and brokers and brokerages. It's really a stressful process for a home buyer or a home seller to pick the right person, right? So I try to make it a little bit easier for them. Listen, either way, they're taking a risk, whether they're with me or they're with Coldwell or Remax or whoever, they're taking a risk. I want to minimize risk for them. And that's all I try to get across in my conversations with them.
And something you mentioned also earlier was, remembering what it was like when you and your wife bought your house and how like just all encompassing that is on your life. And I think that's really important for an agent to remember, what it was like when they bought their first home or maybe when they were relocating and, just what of a disruption and, kind of stress inducing time that is on
Yep.
your life. And I think being able to remember that for each of your clients is really important as well.
I think it humanizes you, especially if you're able to share an experience like that, which I have. I mean, not with everybody, but there are times where it calls for that, that a client needs calming down or reassurance or whatever the case may be. And I just want to take a minute to remind them, hey, I might be a realtor, but I'm also a father, a husband, a son, a brother, a home buyer, a home seller at some point. I know what you're going through. I'm not just a robot on the phone. I'm a human being. I've been where you are, and here's my story.
Before we dive into our next topic, I have a question. Agents, are you ready to build instant trust with the sellers and buyers you meet? Well, with today's sponsor, Authorify, you can become a published author and gain instant credibility with potential clients. You'll easily win listings and buyers will want you to represent them as their agent. Imagine handing somebody your book instead of a business card and watching them realize that you're the real deal and want to list with you. Even better, you can try this out for free because Authorify is giving you a free sample book so you can see exactly how it works. Simply go to authorify.com/sample to claim your free sample book now. Tell me about the marketing of your listings, because like you said, Florida's kind of a unique market now, and
Yeah.
and so tell me what you were doing and what you have been doing to market your listings.
For me, locally, social media is key. Again, I'm in my 40s. I remember when there was no such thing as social media or the internet. Where Generation X is one of those generations that we have experience in everything, right? But I try to educate myself enough to know and to leverage social media to the best ability that I can. So I joined every group possible. Everything that I do, no matter what, I post, I check in, I make little videos, I make little reels, I make sure that my face is out there, my properties are out there. I do MLS blasts all the time as a reminder. Hey, we got this property in Panther Ridge. Say, I got an acre and a half for sale. That's well under market value. I give people those reminders. I'm always in your email box. If you're an agent, I'm always on your screen if you have social media. And I think these days, if you don't have a lot of money to invest in marketing, which I didn't my first year, you know how it is. All agents are broke their first year. So I had to be a little bit, again, outside the box. I don't know if social media is so much outside the box anymore, but there is a way to utilize it and a way to not. Not everybody uses it correctly. Not everybody uses it in a way that's going to help their open houses or promote their new team or promote their new listing. Or what I think is super important is promote your accomplishments. You went under contract, post it. You sold something, post it. You got a listing, post it. You got something coming soon, post it. Post it all. Because then when you have people locally and they think about, well, I need a realtor. Who am I going to go with? You know what? I've seen this guy, Gerry, on Facebook. He's been posting. He's sold this. He's listed that. Let's give him a call. And that's all I'm looking for is that first conversation. And then once I get that first conversation, that house will be sold, or I'll find an agent that has the proper clients and buyers for my listing. it's all about getting in front of as many eyes as possible, especially these days, man. Just like, there's so many platforms and so many outlets for agents to get on. There's podcasts like yours. I don't think there's anything like yours. What you do, I think, is fantastic. You give
I
agents
appreciate
like me a platform that we wouldn't have on a regular basis. I'm not Gary Keller, you
it. Yeah.
know. I'm just Gerry from Sarasota, originally from Brooklyn. I'm here to feed my family and do the right thing for my clients. That's it. And a platform like yours, believe me when I tell you, once this goes live, I'm going to utilize it,
Oh yeah.
because I think there's no better advertising than being on a podcast like yours. This deals right in our purview. This is right about real estate. Has nothing to do with anything else. We're not covering any other fluff. This is about, what do you do to make yourself better as an agent and better for your clients. And again, I appreciate you for the platform and the ability to come on and tell my story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, what I've learned over the 5 years of doing this and interviewing everybody is there are so many different ways to find success in real estate, and you just have to find what works for you. But the one constant that you got to be genuine. That's the number one thing.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Tell me, so you mentioned, joining all the different groups and things like that. Those, like, the specific Facebook groups, like the neighborhood groups on your Facebook feed. How's that worked out? Like, how do you interact with those different groups?
I make sure I engage. Very important. I not only worry about my posts, but I engage with other agents and their posts. Because if you don't engage and show support for other agents, those agents aren't going to show support for you. I might not know them from Adam, and we might have never met before, but I know that they have an open house coming up this weekend. So I make sure that I like that post, and sometimes I'll share it or I'll comment on it. Oh, this is a beautiful home. Oh my God, I wish I got that listing, blah, blah. Make sure you engage with other agents, because if you show that respect, that, it's like it's coin in the karma bank. You show that same respect, they'll bring that respect back to you when you post your stuff. And the more engagement you get on your posts, the more eyes it gets in front of. And that's why I joined all these groups, because now a lot of different agents that didn't know me before, now they know me. I know a lot. I've made a lot of connections, even out of state. I've made connections. I have referral partners I've never met in person, but I've talked to them on the phone. I've had Zoom calls with them, got different deals going on right now. So meeting different agents is also key, because you never know what agent is going to have that buyer for your listing. And I know they're out there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and especially, in a market like Sarasota,
Sure.
You talk about people, relocating from the Northeast and from all over, maybe family members moving in town. It's definitely an area where you do get a lot of out of town folks moving into. And if you are connecting with the agents across the country, that's definitely a great way to get those referral partners.
Absolutely. And that's what I try to do, and it goes, there are people that actually leave Florida, some people that want to go up north. I got a listing now that I'm about to list. And I don't know if you're familiar with Liz Brown. She's all over the internet, and she works for EXP.
Okay.
Blonde lady, real pleasant. So I'm partnering with her because they're moving to that area of Virginia that she covers. So I've already spoken to her, and I got that referral ready to go. And, it's, again, never met her in person. Seems like a great person, but I know her track record. How do I know her track record? I follow her on the internet, and obviously I do a little bit more research than that. And I verify what I see. It's always, my mother taught me at a young age, trust but verify. So, I verify everything I see, make sure it's all above board, because I'll never refer anybody. I'll never put my name on the line for another agent that I don't think will provide the same service that I do. That's key. You don't want to just refer your client and wash your hands. I think that's a huge no-no. In my business model, it is. I stay in touch with the agent. I stay in touch with the client. I make sure that everything's getting done for my client. In a way, yeah, I'm getting a referral fee, but I think, me personally, I earn my referral fee because I want to be involved in that deal, even if it's from 3,000 miles away, because they're still my client. I'm just entrusting somebody else to provide the proper service for them.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, I mean, that client, they have roots in your community. They have friends and family that they left behind,
Absolutely.
and if you, um, if you keep up with them and you make sure that everything has gone smoothly, they're still going to recommend you to all their, their friends and family that are living local.
That's the name of the game. There's no better advertising than word of mouth. And somebody willing to say about you, hey, I know a great agent that you should use, and here he is. I mean, there's no bigger compliment. I don't care how many reviews you have. I don't care about anything else. There's no bigger compliment than somebody sending a family member, a coworker, a colleague, anybody your way that they know that you'll do the right thing for them in this market.
Yeah. Tell me about, you've mentioned a couple times some of the different listings. It sounds like they were, expired listings, or maybe they, just struggled to sell. What kind of conversations do you have with those sellers to maybe make changes to the listing to help them get sold?
So I'll tell you about one in particular. I'll use first names. I won't use last names because they've become very close friends of mine. A couple by the name of David and Lady. The way I reached out to her initially was through text message, believe it or not. What I like to do sometimes is send the text and then follow up with a phone call. And she texted me back. They don't always text back. Usually they don't text back. And that's the truth. I mean, it's a numbers game. The more you send out, the more the chances are somebody will get back to you. So she got back to me and I was like, huh. So she said to me, what can you do for me that other agents can't? I said, well, I think it would be more appropriate if you and I had a phone conversation rather than exchanging on text. She goes, sure, give me a call. So I gave her a call and I said to her, so what I can do for you is provide you personal service. What I can do for you is care about your house the way that you do. And she's like, well, that's a big problem for me because my last agent didn't seem like he cared. All we were to him was a commission. And I said, well, unfortunately, that happens, but I will not do that. And then she said something really interesting to me. Coming from a family, like my wife's family is very God-fearing, and so it just so happens Lady was as well. And she said, you know what? She go, I texted you back because God told me to. And she said that to me. And that really, like, when she said that, I got chills, honestly. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm not going to use any cliched lines like, oh, this was meant to be. What I said to her was like, I think you should, maybe go with your intuition, go with God, and let's start this out for a month. Let's list your house. Let me show you what I can do. And, we'll see. I said, I'll list it at the proper value because he underlisted it because it was way under market value.
Yeah.
He just wanted to unload it. He wanted to collect that commission check and move on to the next one. Yeah. Unfortunately, there are agents like that. And it kind of puts a black eye for the rest of us. Yeah. So what I did, I listed it. I was there for the photos. Now, mind you, I live in Sarasota. They're in Riverview. So that's a 45-minute ride each way,
right?
Each time for each event. I was there for photos. I was there for video. I was there for every open house. Well, there was 3, and on the 3rd one is when it sold. I was always there. Once the house went under contract, she goes, I had no doubt.
Yeah.
She goes, not because of what God told me to do. She goes, that was just the first step. She goes, you showed me that you care. And that's the kind of people that I like to associate with, and again, like you said, being genuine, people undervalue that, I think.
Yeah.
Other potential clients, if they see that you're a real person, if they see that you're genuine, they're more willing to take that risk with you. And I can't stress that enough, man. I mean, it's like, you don't have to go and show I'm the agent that knows best. I'm the agent that sold $40 million worth of property last year. Just, I'm a human being. Just like you. I have stresses. I have kids. I have worries, just like you. Let's do this together and see where we go. And it sounds simple.
Right.
It's simple once you get there. Getting to that level of getting somebody to trust you and giving that initial opportunity, that takes work. Because you do have to back those words up. And fortunately, I don't know how to do it another way. I just don't. If I say I'm going to be somewhere for my client, I don't care what it is. I'm going to be there. I'll crawl if I need to. but my integrity and my word to my clients and anybody I do business with, it means everything to me because it takes so much work to build up your reputation, and it takes one bad move to kill it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And real estate, it's a long game. And,
Absolutely.
it's one of those things where, yeah, it might be hard to prove that early in the career, but once you do it enough times and you do it enough times, you have a whole army of people that are behind you saying, yep, he is there every step of the way with me,
Yep.
and led me down, this path to selling our home.
And that's, again, I can't stress that enough. That is what stuff like that is what's going to get your name out there. It's like you show up for all of these things. I even show up on showings a lot. And I warn the buyer's agent, hey, I know you're going to go show it, but I'm going to be there. I want to answer some questions. Should your client have questions that, you don't know the answer to? I'm not going to step on any toes. I'll let you show the house. I'm just there for moral support. And I do that a lot, more often probably than I should. But I like to be involved. And it's a very, very important asset that I've been entrusted with if somebody gives me their home to sell. So I want to make sure that it's presented properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, tell me about, some of the future goals of the new brokerage and everything, you have going on with that.
So our team is about 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've basically cut it off on hiring new agents for the team because, as a director of sales, it's really tough to oversee 15 different agents, different personalities, different needs every day, which I'm good with. I love these guys are fantastic. Our goal, it might be a little lofty, but our goal is to be a top 5 team in this area 12 months from now. I think we have the people. I think we have the desire, the ambition to do that. Again, the only way we're going to do that is by being different than every other team here. And when I say here, I don't mean just in KW. I mean, we have great, great agencies that we're competing with every single day. And not everybody, we're not the only ones providing good service, unfortunately.
Right.
There's a lot of other companies out there providing good service, a lot of great agents here locally. So our work is cut out for us, but I think we have the ambition to do that. Like I said, most of our people are in transactions now, whether it's listings, most of them have buyers clients that they've already signed. I have this one girl that just joined our team literally a week ago. Her name is Casey. Again, no last names because I don't know if people want me to put them on blast like that. She just signed her first buyer client yesterday. And, we talk about the team aspect. Yes, this is an independent game, but when you're on a real estate team, you have the benefit of utilizing somebody that has more experience than you or somebody that's went through something that you might not have gone through. Like I said, I haven't had my license for even a year yet. Right. So there's a lot of stuff I could learn from other agents that are on my team that have been in this longer. I just have a knack for sales. I have a knack of not being intimidated by that big room and that big setting and that big stage. And again, I thank the New York construction industry for that. It put a lot of stress on my life back then, but it really thickened up my skin. So we are building this team. I think we have, we offer, and this is in all of our marketing stuff, we offer that 5-star white glove service that we will be there for you for everything that you need. If you're out of town, we'll make sure all the work that needs to be done for your house pre-list, that gets done. We're not just going to give somebody a key and say, go in and do this, this, and that. Somebody from our team will be there to make sure that work is done properly in a timely fashion and that we can list your house to the best possible way we can.
Yeah.
So that's our number one goal, is to grow and to be number one.
Awesome.
I say top 5. I'm trying to be a little humble and modest, but I'm a confident guy. I'm shooting for number 1. And I think we can do it. I think we have the ability and the team to do it. And as long as we set ourselves apart and we put that work in, Don't be afraid to work. Yeah. Just outwork the next guy, and I think you'll be great in this business.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not brain surgery. Real estate is not brain surgery.
No, definitely not. Well, where can people connect with you and follow you online if they're listening to this and want to connect?
Well, you could, first of all, you could always call me. I'm one of those rare agents that I always answer my phone. My number is 941-577-5184. My email is simple. It's my first and last name at kw.com, Gerry Tomchinsky at kw.com. You could find me at Gerry Tomchinsky Realtor on Facebook, Realtor Gerry Tomchinsky on Instagram, Realtor Gerry Tomchinsky on TikTok. My team is called Team Suncoast Success. We have our own page on Facebook. Check that out. Team Suncoast Success is the Facebook page. There'll be a lot more stuff for the team coming out soon. We have a marketing director, Barry's wife, Hope. She's our marketing director. She's phenomenal. She's working on all of our introduction as a team. But for me, again, my number is 941-577-5184. Even if you're not in the area and you know somebody coming to the area, give me a call. I'll give them that 5-star service they deserve, and I'll represent you the right way as a referral agent and a referral partner.
Awesome. I really do appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Again, Michael, I want to thank you so much for having me and giving me the ability to be on a platform like this. I think I speak for every other agent that's been on your show and that will be on your show, that you give us a platform that we wouldn't have otherwise. So I'm super, super grateful for you having me. And I hope we could do it again someday, pal.
Yeah, definitely. We'll check in. Keep checking in
I will.
and see how things are going. I want to thank Gerry for joining us today and think it's awesome he's been able to build such a successful real estate career in such a short amount of time. Remember, if you're interested in connecting with Gerry, check out the episode description for links to his social channels. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.